And with that conclusion to Monday Night Raw for 9/23/24, all we are left to say is wow. World Wrestling Entertainment actually decided to go with a shocking title change to end this week's Raw. Shocking not just because Jey Uso hoisted up the Intercontinental Championship when the show went off the air, his first ever singles title in the company, but more so shocking because the former champion Bron Breakker had only held the title for 51 days. This was a beast. He was next in line after Gunther. Now, nobody's saying you have to hold the championship for years like a Roman Reigns or an exceptionally long time like Gunther, but the way the company was booking Braun from the beginning, you truly felt the company was positioning Bron Breakker to be the next big beast in the company. Like once they put the world title on Gunther, once they have a plan put in place for Gunther, next up was going to be Bron Breakker. And they were going to use the IC championship as a stepping stone to get to that destination. But after Gunther, Bron Breakker was the next big project. And here we are 51 days later, dude doesn't even have a championship anymore. So what changed? Has WWE changed their minds? Are they going to go a different direction? Maybe Bronson Reed is who Paul Levesque McMahon, Hunter Hearst Helmsley would like to go with. They like what they're seeing out of Bronson Reed. Bron Breakker maybe has a lot more that needs to be tweaked, a lot more that needs to be adjusted, and it's going to take too much time. The gold should not be on his shoulder right now. But that's what makes this shocking. Only 51 days of a title reign. Only 2 defenses in that 51 days. Only 2. He won that championship August 3rd at SummerSlam against Sami Zayn. 9 days later, he had his only successful title defense. It was against the same dude that he beat for it, Sami Zayn. It was on a Monday Night Raw 9 days after he won it. That was his only successful title defense. He tried one more time to defend that championship, and that was last night, and he lost to Jey Uso. It's odd booking. If you look at the dude's last 8 matchups, he's lost 5 out of his last 8. 5 out of 8. Doesn't sound like somebody that you're booking to be a beast. By the way, huge congratulations to Jey Uso. That is a big part of this shocking title change, obviously. Jey's first ever singles title in WWE. Of course, if you've been a subscriber or a channel member to this channel for any length of time, you know that BC's favorite tag team in this industry is the Usos. Jey and his brother Jimmy Uso, who we wish all the best to as well. As a singles competitor, I'm not as captivated by Jey as I am him and his brother in a tag team. That's the most amplified honesty I can give you. I'm not a big yeeter, right? I'm not ordering my coffee in Starbucks and then following it up with a yeet after I pay. I'm not yeeting around Fifth Avenue. It's just not happening, but a lot of the kids, the families, they like to show up and they yeet, and that's awesome, man. If it's going to sell more shirts and put more dollars in Jey Uso's pocket, pretty cool. Big supporter of Jey Uso. So even though I'm not as captivated into singles Jey Uso, I'm more of a tag team Uso brothers guy, but congratulations. That was such a cool moment. But the biggest shocking part of this is what has happened to Bron Breakker, because what do you do? There's only 2 ways you go here, right? Right, if you go left and let's say you play a game of hot potato, so now the title goes right back to Bron Breakker. Who does that help? Jey Uso, it certainly does not. So now Jey holds it for 2 weeks, or maybe they let him hold it for 2 full months, right? 9 days more than Bron Breakker, but then he gives it right back. How is that helping Jey? Other than selling more shirts, lining his pockets a little bit more, and WWE's in the process, I get it. But other than that, character development-wise, booking-wise, how you perceive Jey Uso, how is that helping the dude? It's not. And on the flip side, it's hurting Bron Breakker even more. Because again, his last 5 out of 8 he's lost. So win-loss wise, he's looking like a geek. Then he has a championship for 51 days after claiming he's going to be the most dominant IC champion, claiming that nobody is going to be able to beat him. And he's only had 1 successful title defense, couldn't get past his second, couldn't even get 2 months of a reign. That is bad. giving a championship, the one that he lost after 51 days, right back to him is probably not going to make the audience go, oh, Braun is back. It's going to be much more difficult now to dig him out of the ditch that you dug for him. So I don't see how going left and just playing hot potato is going to help any of these individuals. So let's say you go right and you decide to have Jey Uso go on his own now. Has the company decided, has Hunter Hearst Helmsley decided, I'm going to go with a different Braun to beat Jey Uso? I'm going to go with Bronson Reed. Maybe Hunter Hearst Helmsley loves what he's seeing out of Bronson Reed, thinks he can do much more, thinks he's farther along in his development, and it's going to be Bronson Reed taking the title from Jey Uso in the future. And maybe he has Bron Breakker in that aspect do what Bronson Reed is doing now, having a lot of fun causing chaos, right? You could see Bron Breakker doing that. Nobody's saying Bron Breakker has to have a championship right now. The company put him in that position, and then they took it away really quickly. What that does is it damages the character, even subconsciously. Now you're thinking Bron Breakker isn't that bad. He's not as bad as he claimed to be. He had some good booking, and then it came to a quick end. So if Jey Uso and Bron Breakker do go their separate ways, you're going to have to work twice as hard to get Bron Breakker's relevance back. On the flip side, Jey Uso, is he now out of War Games? Right? We all were thinking it's going to be Jimmy and Jey aligning with Roman Reigns, maybe Sami Zayn or a Cody Rhodes. Now you got to think, is Jey going to just go off on his own side business with that IC championship? We still don't even know if Jimmy Uso is going to be back for Survivor Series War Games. So is the Usos totally taken out? And then you got to start thinking, is it going to be Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens, maybe even a Randy Orton alongside Roman Reigns? So that's a totally different look now on what War Games we thought it was going to be. But now they put a title on Jey Uso. He can do a plethora of other things while Jimmy Uso remains on the sidelines. We wish him the best, by the way. All these questions. It was a strange move last night. The crowd was hot. I'm not against it. Sometimes you gotta. This is what Hunter Hearst Helmsley failed to do at WrestleMania 39. Listen to the crowd, call an audible when you need to. But that's WrestleMania 30. I mean, that should have already been the call. You should have known the title has to go on Cody Rhodes at 39. This is a Monday Night Raw. Plans are put in place. There's got to be a time for this. I don't know if you call an audible like that, man. Take that title off of Bron Breakker. Again, for all the reasons we just mentioned. That'll hurt Braun much more in the long run, just for a moment. So I'm not totally against the decision because I'm a big supporter of Jey Uso. Not as much as a singles Jey Uso. I'm much more of a tag team dude. The Usos I represent, but very proud of the dude and happy for him. But it's a mind-boggling decision. Definitely shocking. I don't want to overuse the word shocking, especially in pro wrestling, because shocking moments need to stand on their own and have prestige. But this was shocking, and I don't know if it was all for the right reasons. Such a big moment for Jey Uso. I don't really know what that leads to now for Bron Breakker. 51 days. That's going to be something people take inventory of, even if it's only subconsciously. 51 days. They're going to think, wait, he didn't have a lot of title defenses, did he? No, he only had 2. He only won one of those. If you're showing up to live events or whatever and you're noticing lose and then you heard that he just lost in another town, well, yeah, 5 out of 8. This is Bron Breakker. He's going toward Barry Horowitz or Brooklyn Brawler type win-loss record. Okay, well, they lost every one of their matches, but you get the point. You probably don't want to tour your guy who's supposed to be ultra dominant. You probably don't want him to tour around the country losing all the time. And then when he gets the TV, he drops his title too. Very odd. Shocking moment to end Monday Night Raw. BC's going to cover it. I got the whole show. I did my due diligence. I got the notes in front of me. We're going to talk about this show, man. A lot happened. It covered a lot of bases. I felt like they stepped it up last night. Now, whether it was entertaining for you, whether you liked it or didn't, that's your prerogative. That's your right. That's how you felt about it. But it absolutely was a step in the right direction for many reasons. Again, for the shock value, whether it was a good decision or not, it was absolutely shocking, and it got the whole community talking. New IC champion. So that was the biggest story. But you also had all the destruction, right? Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman yet again. Absolute chaos. And I love how they keep elevating it. Last night with 155 security guards. Slight exaggeration. So you had the big shocking moment last night. You had the big chaotic brawl last night. Well done. You had pure wrestling. If you show up just to see Wrestler A and Wrestler B have a really good wrestling match, you had that in Sami Zayn and Ludwig Kaiser. So you had just so much went on last night that was good, right? Character development like Xavier Woods, right? For the first time in a long time, BC's actually into what Xavier's doing. So, and this was without a lot to do with Wyatt 6 or anything like that too, but there was enough good. You know, the biggest lacking area is still the women's division, aside from Rhea and Liv in their opening segment. And we'll talk about that in a minute, what Dominik has to do at Bad Blood, which is funny, which is something we knew was going to happen, right? Or at least was heavily discussed. And looks like the company is going to take our advice on it. Hopefully it's done well, but we'll go over that in a minute. But aside from Rhea and Liv, you got nothing in the women's division. But aside from Liv and Rhea, the women's division is just, it needs so much care put into it. And it's just not happening, right? Damage Control last night, winning another nonsensical match. Unholy Union losing another matchup. Whether they have championships or not, Unholy Union is an afterthought. While they're in the ring, they're an afterthought. That's not good. And again, Damage Control just is in limbo. You never know if Damage Control are faces or heels. It's so weird. They get out-heeled by another team. Sonya's group comes back, attacks them when they were heels. So that forces them quietly to become faces, I guess. But then they're in this weird thing with Bianca and Jade, who are super faces. So why would you turn Damage Control face just to take on more faces? And then this week they're back to taking on heels. Again, Damage Control wins another nonsensical matchup. Unholy Union loses, and the wheel goes round and round. SmackDown's not that much better. They're doing this weird thing with Bayley and Naomi just to get a match with Nia, which no matter who wins, both we have seen that match. Naomi and Nia and Bayley and Nia 1,006 times. So you got to put creativity and care, right? You have to elevate something that has already been done. The women's division, once again, that was highlighted more than anything on last night's show, is how weak this division is. And that's not good, because it should be the strongest when you look at the talent, when you look at the roster, when you look at what they can do, and you see the booking that they're given. The women, man, the women's division is... It's right there with the tag team division, which is just non-existent. And so much care needs to be put into it. There was a lot of good that I saw, or a lot better, right? A lot was moving in the right direction last night. And then there's still some situations that are still just illuminating. It's just like, and it just keeps getting brighter every week, the spotlight on it, because it's not being attended to. Let's talk about this show, man. This was Raw 9/23/24. I got the notes in front of me. Gonna do my due diligence for you guys. So kick back, max, relax, let BC drop the facts. So this show starts off the way every WWE show starts off. Wrestlers showing up to work. What a concept. No pyro, just wrestlers with their coffee and their luggage, smiling as they enter the arena. Last night you had Bron Breakker getting off the elevator. Drew McIntyre coming through the front gate. Jey Uso in the parking lot. And there was no security, though. They were able to just walk into the arena. Jacob Fatu took care of all the security on Friday. So they just walked in without any pat-downs. But in all seriousness, no pyro, just wrestlers showing up. But what they did do was the same thing they did Friday night, and it's what BC has been asking for weeks now. And I'm glad they took the advice, because that's what this channel is based on, making pro wrestling great again. If they take the advice that we offer, awesome. If they don't, we'll keep asking. Right? We asked for 5 years for this company to turn Roman Reigns. It took 5 years, but they finally did it, and we got the best version of Roman. So BC's been asking for a couple weeks now, can we have some more fun with these parking lot entrances? right? Instead of just holding the coffee, smiling with the luggage, somebody should be getting chased around with a golf cart in the parking lot. Or when they get out of their rental, a monster truck should crush it, right? Braun Strowman gets out of his rental and there's Bronson Reed in a monster truck. There goes the rental. And then Bronson's chasing Braun in a monster truck. Or maybe the next week, because Braun Strowman had his rental car destroyed by a monster truck, the next week, Braun Strowman is chasing Bronson in a monster truck. Yeah, you pictured it, right? Bronson Reed hauling ass, trying to get away from a monster truck. That's funny. So we have a little bit of fun with it. We have these wild ideas, but in all seriousness, have fun. They did it Friday finally. Jacob Fatu going through the security checkpoint with the bloodline. You ain't touching me. Absolutely not. Takes care of all the security. That was pretty cool. That caught BC off guard. I was like, that was awesome. That was awesome. And then last night, something simplistic. Liv Morgan and Dominik Mysterio showing up in Eddie Guerrero's lowrider. They got out of the vehicle. They're doing that long one-shot entrance, and all of a sudden, wham, out of nowhere, Braun Strowman takes out Bronson Reed. So as Liv and Dominik are coming into the arena, just out of nowhere, Braun Strowman just chuggas right into Bronson through a whole merchandise stand or something. I don't know what was back there. Why are they selling merchandise back there? It all happened so fast, I didn't even see Braun. I actually caught a replay, and I caught that replay 4 or 5 times. I could not see Braun Strowman or Bronson Reed. I couldn't make out either of them. That's how fast it happened. But it looked like they went through like merchandising or something. But I don't know who's selling t-shirts in the parking lot. That sounds like a bootleg operation. It's the fake bloodline. It's Solo. Solo's selling those shirts. But guys, something simplistic like that, man. That's how you start a show, man. Give the idea that at any moment anything can happen, right? Build that suspense. That at any moment you could see a shocking moment actually occur. That's what always used to happen back in the day, and that's what made the shows fun, and that's what catapulted ratings. When the shows just become redundant, there's no need to tune in. You can watch the highlights or listen to BC the next day and you miss nothing. Right from the jump, pretty cool. Whoa, who was that? Dude, somebody just flew into this. Oh, it was Braun. He took out Bronson. That's wild. Wait, show me that replay. That was nuts. Right? That's the discussion you start to have with your buddy as you're watching the show. On the start of the show in the arena was Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, and Dominik Mysterio. Rhea informs Mysterio that at Bad Blood, he will be hanging in a shark cage above the ring. Ripley then delivers a headbutt to Morgan's face. Morgan's selling was incredible, as if someone threw a brick literally at her face. She was just stunned stiff, like a deer in the headlights or a bull that just got tranquilized. Liv Morgan, exceptional selling. Really sold me. Rhea Ripley owes her a coffee. But again, the biggest news here is that Dominik will be in that shark cage. That's not shocking to many of us. We've been having fun about that discussion since Rhea Ripley was turned on by Dominik Mysterio. What was that, SummerSlam? But we were all thinking like, wait, Rhea, Liv, even before that turn, Rhea, Liv with Dominik in a shark cage, and a winner gets custody of Dominik match. So it was kind of funny that here we are all these weeks later, and WWE's like, well, what if we did put Dominik up in the cage? So Rhea says, because you won't have Dominik there, your days of champion limited. It was a pretty good segment. Again, for the women, it's Rhea and Liv right now, at least on the red brand, and everything else is just paling in comparison. It's an afterthought. It's irrelevant. I mean, at first thought, you wouldn't even think of anything going on women-wise on this show, and it's 3 hours. They have so many chances. First matchup of the night, Sami Zayn defeating Ludwig Kaiser via Haluva kick pinfall. This was obviously just a tune-up match for Zayn before his inevitable title match with Gunther. If you liked that match last night between Kaiser and Zayn, which many people did, you're going to see it again and again and again. I don't know if you're going to see it as many times as Mello and Andrade. They're about to go for like the 6th or 7th time in just a couple of months. But you're probably going to see this match a lot, especially because it was good. The crowd really liked it. And when WWE sees that, they tend to run it into the ground. But this was good. The crowd was really into it. The reception that the finish received was something you'd see and hear at a PLE. Post-match, Gunther to the ring. Gunther screws with the live crowd, teasing a title match with Sami right there for that crowd. But instead, he says no, and he walks away. So he really pumped. He's like, you know what? I've been doing some thinking. And if this is what you want more than anything in the world, I say it's got to be done in a place like right here, right now. The crowd's flipping out. And then he goes, but no. And he walks away. I mean, come on. I love it. Straight out of the heel handbook. And he's so good at being the asshole. And that's why shaking hands with baby faces just can't happen. Not with a dude like Gunther. I'm loving that long build too, with for Sami receiving that yes for the World Championship match. This long build is being done correctly. And again, it's simplistic. It's Pro Wrestling 101. This is a storyline. This is what I mean when I say you don't got to move mountains to give every wrestler you have a good storyline. It's something simple like, hey, I want a title shot. Hey, tough shit. Too bad. You'll get a title shot when I say you get one. So it's going to be a pretty big moment when Gunther finally says yes. Bronson Reed versus Miz was next. Never comes close to getting underway. Braun Strowman attacks and chokeslams Reed onto the ring apron. The two would go to war again, and this time, a furious Adam Pearce sent 106 security guards to the ring. That might be a slight exaggeration. I wasn't able to count them all, but seemed like 106. However, not only did Bronson and Strowman not care, they were excited to destroy the security. It's like showing up to gym class knowing it's square dancing day, but instead there's a substitute and you're playing dodgeball. The more security was just more bodies to throw around. At one point, Reed was tossing security on top of one another and then delivering tsunamis. It wasn't until Strowman was about to suplex Reed from the top turnbuckle that Adam Pearce sent in even more reinforcements. Not kidding. I can't recall ever seeing that much security for two dudes. I love these segments. It was very well done. Drew McIntyre promo was up next. Hyping his Hell in a Cell match with CM Punk at Bad Blood. It was a good promo, just like CM Punk's from a couple weeks ago. But it was just that, a promo. With a feud that's been going on several months, it's important to keep elevating the storyline and the intrigue by the week. Same reason I couldn't get pumped up for Punk's promo a couple weeks ago. After seeing these two battle in several wars, going back to word for word and tick for tack is just not that fun. Right, that's the biggest issue that a company will face when doing these long-term storylines. It's how do you keep elevating the suspense and the anticipation and the excitement and the fun and the interest for your audience if it's going to go for many months. And when you've seen the wars that these two have gone through, and then you just hear Punk say words with no McIntyre in the arena, and then 2 weeks later, it's just Drew saying words with no Punk in the arena, you start to think, well, this is the same type of thing that was going on months ago when they started the feud. So it's just like, they have a strap match coming up. So I'm going to say some words of what I'm going to do in the strap match. And then that's over. And then they go to a Hell in a Cell match. And I'm going to do this to you in the Hell in a Cell. You got to be careful that's not just a redundancy. They're pulling this off, or trying to. It's not that fun right now. And I say this is feud of the year. It's up there with AEW's Swerve and Hangman feud. So I still say that this is feud of the year to this point. But it severely lacked the last several weeks. They're doing this without any physicality. They probably think they have wrestled and fought so many times that let's just make sure there's no physicality until Hell in a Cell. So I understand that vantage point. But you still have to have more creatively planned. You can't just... you look at the last 3 weeks, it's Punk with a single promo, Drew with a single promo, And then, was it last week? They kind of went face to face and they just said words. No physicality, nothing like that, just words. So it's hard. It's hard to do that, right? Just go to a straight word for word feud to get to a PLE when you've already been through every type of war imaginable. So they're trying to pull it off. This is probably one of the weakest months that they have had in this multi-month feud. But Drew McIntyre nailed it. It was a good promo. It's just, man, when you see, what did VKM used to say? When you see somebody getting chased around with a chainsaw, where do you go from there? So he said that in response to like, why don't we see a lot of Attitude Era stuff anymore? And he was like, well, we kind of had to reset. We had Chainsaw Charlie, a character. He was played by Terry Funk, by the way. And Chainsaw Charlie would just chase people with chainsaws. And Vince one day was just like, well, where do I go from there? Like, what are we doing? So it's almost like that, right? Like everything we've seen with Drew and CM Punk, and you see nearly all of it. And then they just went back to just saying words to one another. It's I don't know, man. It's the last several weeks. It's not as good as it was. Hell in a Cell, though, man. What I think that's where all of this attention within the company, within Drew and CM Punk and Hunter Helmsley and creatively, I think it's all probably being put into that match. So they're just trying to get to that point. They don't even care about the weekly shows at this point. They're like, listen, this feud is selling itself. We're going to run on fumes. Right? We're going to just rest on the laurels that we built. Hell in a Cell will make up for it. We'll see. Next up was American Made defeating The New Day. Brutus ball pin on Xavier. That was overshadowed by a backstage segment with Xavier, however. Backstage, Rey Mysterio, LWO apologizing to Xavier Woods for last week's miscommunication. Woods doesn't want to hear it. Instead, he flips out on Ray and even Kofi. Ray says, you want to fight? Let's fight next week. Xavier is great with this turn because he's believable. New Day has been around for many years, and it was only a matter of time before Woods wanted to see if he can do things on his own, if he can hang on his own. King Woods was booked absurdly. I'll just leave it like that. King Woods, we thought something was going to, but just throwing a crown on the dude, I mean, that's not going to get everybody going, yep, we got to see Xavier on his own. If you're truly going to reach something like Kofi Mania or the Yeets that you're seeing now, Xavier could be a dude to pull the audience to another level. But unless you really take the chance on him, not only will he'll never know. Right now is the time. I'm really liking this, just the way Xavier is believable. And the booking's been solid to get us to that point. Main event for the IC Championship. Title holder Bron Breakker. Challenger Jey Uso. Action really picked up when Braun goes for a spear, but Jey hits him with his own spear instead. Then a flying waterfall splash from the top rope. That's right. I figure Bronson Reed has the tsunami. So Jey Uso, he's much smaller, so his top rope splash has to be a waterfall. But it's a fierce waterfall. So there you go. In all seriousness, Bron Breakker timed this kick out to that top rope Uso splash. Bron Breakker timed it to perfection. I couldn't help but think what a difference a week makes. Last week, there was a major timing botch by Braun during his Uso attack to end the show. This week, that kick out was so well timed. Much of the crowd truly thought Jey had won the match. They were absolutely shocked when the referee said, nope, only 2. Crowd was just hot, especially towards its conclusion. Jey delivers another spear, this one to the outside barricade, and then back inside the ring for one more Uso splash. Fierce waterfall. Breakker's 51-day reign comes to an end. Only one title defense. 8-12 in a rematch against Sami Zayn. Only 2 matches with the title in its totality. And new! Jey Uso's first ever singles title in WWE. Oh, nearly 15 years, I would say. Nearly 15 years in the making. Again, Major salute, respect, congratulations over to Jey, man. One half of my favorite tag team in this industry. I am more of an Usos tag team guy than I am singles Jey guy, but I know how special that is to that dude. And I don't say you deserve it, but if that chant is going to be given to everybody, then yeah, Jey Uso obviously does. Why does he deserve it? Because he's earned it. What a moment for Jey Uso. Again, just like we talked about in the cold open, it's still mind-boggling, that decision, because I don't see how this helps anybody going forward. And by that, I mean more specifically, Bron Breakker. The way that they started to push this dude, the way that he was being booked to totally rip the rug from underneath his feet. After 51 days on a Monday Night Raw. I mean, they couldn't even do this at like Bad Blood, like put it to where it should be. So at least it's a bigger moment when Braun loses it. But just on a Monday Night Raw, following suit with how we've seen Braun booked recently. Very oddly, not powerful. Not like the badass. In fact, when you think about it, it's almost like they don't know what to do with Bron Breakker. Some weeks he's going out there and he's acting like a face, like when he starts a promo and he says, "Where's all my dogs at?" Obviously, that is to get the crowd to start barking, right? That's the whole point of that. That's something a face would say. Now, I know Hunter doesn't really have that line with face and heel, and he blurs the lines all the time, muddies the waters. But if you're making Bron Breakker a badass, diabolical heel, pandering to the crowd is not going to help the cause. Where are all my dogs at? Some of the crowd starts barking. Very odd. Bron Breakker, though, since he's won that championship, his booking is an absolute mystery. What is not a mystery is who's the IC champion right now. Jey Uso. A shocking title change on Monday Night Raw. That's what I got, guys. I'm still trying to comprehend that decision. Again, really happy for that dude, Jey Uso. I don't know what they're doing with Braun, but that was a wild, shocking decision last night on Monday Night Raw. We have a new IC title holder. Those Yeet shirts are going to be flying off the shelves even faster now. Until next time, and there will be that next time. Top guys, we are out. BC in the unit. Saying check you.